In the bustling town cradled by towering mountains, Kale always felt like a shadow. Mira owned a bakery with lines stretching down the street. The scent of fresh bread carried her name through the town like a song. Tobin strummed heartfelt melodies in the square, his music adored by crowds and celebrated at festivals. And Kale? Kale carved tiny wooden animals in a quiet corner of his workshop, each piece delicate but unnoticed. He watched his friends' successes like someone staring into a lit hearth from the cold outside, longing to feel its warmth but unable to enter. Every time Kale opened his shop, he felt the weight of comparison. Mira's bakery was crowded every morning. Tobin's performances were talked about late into the night. Kale's work, however, barely caught a glance from passers-by. His heart was heavy, dragging him deeper into insecurity day by day. Why am I so far behind them? He would ask himself. What is it about me that's not enough? One crisp morning, wrapped in his thoughts, Kale decided to escape the noise of the town. He wandered to the edge, where the river carved its path through rolling hills. The gentle rush of water soothed him. It was there, near the riverbank, that he noticed an old woman sitting on a weathered log. Her hands worked steadily, weaving reeds into a basket, her humming soft and melodic. Intrigued by her calm presence, Kale stopped, unsure whether to interrupt. But the frustration that had been clawing at him for days spilled over. "How do you do it?" Kale blurted out. The woman raised her creased face, her eyes bright yet gentle. Confused, she tilted her head. "How do you not feel left behind?" Kale pressed on, his words tumbling out. "Everyone in town is better than me. Mira's bakery is the best anyone's seen. Tobin's music is beautiful enough to silence crowds. And me, I'll never be like them." The old woman Saria gave him a long, steady look, letting the silence linger before she spoke. Saria didn't flinch. She gestured to the basket she was weaving. "This isn't bread or a song," she said simply. "It doesn't catch anyone's attention in the market, but it holds what I need. Your carvings, they bring you joy, don't they?" Kale hesitated. It was true. He loved the feel of wood underneath his hands. He loved the satisfaction of smoothing surfaces and seeing a rabbit slowly emerge from the grains of pine. "I guess they do," he admitted softly, his gaze falling to the river. Saria smiled. "Joy is the foundation, Kale. If your work makes your heart lighter, who cares how heavy someone else's success looks? Stop measuring yourself with borrowed threads. Weave your own." The words stayed with Kale long after he left the river. For days, he kept repeating them, "Weave your own tapestry." At first, they felt foreign. He still found his thoughts drifting toward Mira's bakery and Tobin's music. But little by little, he shifted his focus inward. Instead of fretting over whether his carvings would sell, he began to create for the joy of creating. He poured himself entirely into each figure, letting his emotions guide him. Curious rabbits, playful birds, even tiny dogs wagging their carved tails. Not long after, something interesting began to happen. Children would press their faces to his shop's window, their eyes wide with wonder. They pointed to the little figures, asking their parents about the tiny woodland creatures behind the glass. Kale started giving them away to the children who showed the most delight, and their laughter sparked something in him, a sense of warmth that had nothing to do with coins. Parents began returning to buy more carvings as toys or decorations, excited about their charm. Kale didn't just feel seen, he felt appreciated. Weeks turned into months, and Kale's reputation grew. He wasn't just the man who carved wooden animals. He became known as the town's wooden storyteller. Each figure was carefully made to tell its own quiet tale, a fox hiding under leaves, a squirrel clutching an acorn. Kale realized how much joy his craft could bring, and how Saria's advice had freed him from the comparisons that used to weigh him down. Years later, Kale found himself by the same river, reaching for a block of wood and a knife. A child was giggling beside him, waiting eagerly for the carving Kale was making of a deer with gentle eyes. As his hands worked, he remembered Saria's words, not as a vague memory, but as a truth he now carried daily. He thought about Mira selling bread and Tobin singing under the stars. He smiled, realizing he no longer envied them. Their paths were theirs, and his was his, no larger, no smaller, just right for him. And as the child squealed with joy at the finished deer in her hands, Kale's heart soared. He had stopped chasing after someone else's story, and in doing so found his own, a story of joy, patience, and carving out his unique place in the world.